Do you remember Virginia Giuffre? Virginia was the young woman who accused Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein of sexual assault. She's the one that's in that notorious picture where she's hugging Prince Andrew. If you don't remember, just give you a little bit of a flashback. And then I'm going to tell you what has apparently happened to her as of recent. Strange things are going on, folks. Just a reminder.
A U.S. court has just revealed a settlement agreement between convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and Virginia Giuffre, and it could affect Giuffre's civil suit against Prince Andrew. She says she was trafficked by Epstein and forced to have sex with his friends, including Prince Andrew. And she says the prince knew she was underage. He has always strongly denied all these allegations.
He denied those allegations, but as you guys could see there, the picture kind of obviously they're hugging each other there. She was underage in that picture. Why was he hanging out with her? What was going on there? What is a whole ass grown man doing hanging out with an underage girl at that point in time? But remember, Prince Andrew being who he is, I mean, come on, they have a way of making sure that people like him are going to be protected and that he would get out of any type of mess there is in front of him. But he was never held responsible.
He says the prince knew she was underage. He has always strongly denied all these allegations. The 2009 settlement between Epstein and Giuffre that was made public today does not mention Prince Andrew directly, but it says that Giuffre will, quote, release liability for, quote, any other person who could have been a defendant against her claims. Oral arguments in the case against Prince Andrew begin tomorrow, and the prince's legal team is expected to argue for dismissal based on this 2009 settlement. CNN legal analyst Paul Callan joins me from New York with more. What do you think the chances of Prince Andrew's legal team are in court tomorrow? They're basically saying Giuffre signed a deal in 2009 promising not to pursue anyone connected with Epstein. What do you think?
They actually have a very strong argument, a compelling argument that they're going to assert on behalf of Prince Andrew. And an agreement like this, a settlement agreement like this, is not at all unusual. As a matter of fact, in most civil cases, when they are settled, the defendant, the person who's being sued, is always afraid that there'll be other suits that will be coming out of the same incident. So if they can, they negotiate an agreement like this that, hey, this is the end of the case if we're going to pay you this amount of money. They paid her $500,000 apparently back in 2009, I believe it was, when the settlement agreement was made.
Okay, so this is the exact language. I'm going to read it to our viewers. Giuffre signed the deal in which he agreed to remise, release, acquit, satisfy, and forever discharge the said second parties and any other person or entity who could have been included as a potential defendant from all and all manner of action and actions of Virginia Roberts, that was her name at the time, including state or federal cause and causes of action. Does that include civil suits?
Oh, yes, that would most definitely. And that is really aimed at civil suits because you cannot contract away criminal charges. That would be obstruction of justice if you did that. So this is intended to apply to civil cases. But here's the argument that her attorneys are going to make. They're going to say that the case against Prince Andrew is different than the case against Epstein. And accordingly, it could not have appropriately been brought as part of this settlement agreement, and hence it's not covered. That's what.
Pause here for a second. So this is something that I always question. We wanted to point out, right? Like Prince Andrew should have been brought up on criminal charges, right? Not just this civil suit. Ghislaine Maxwell was brought up on criminal charges. Epstein brought up on criminal charges, and then he disappears. I think we all know about that. And then, but Prince Andrew just seemed to skirt on by. And I've always saw it this way. People say, well, if there's a civil suit and if the victim wins the civil suit, then everyone knows that the accused is guilty. Not necessarily. but he was not brought up on these criminal charges. That's something to hold on to that.
What the lawyers will be arguing about from a technical standpoint. Now, of course, her attorneys will be Prince Andrew's attorneys will be saying, "Hey, that's absurd. He could have been named as a co-defendant in the case, just as Maxwell was named as a co-defendant in the case."
Sure. What if Ghislaine Maxwell, who was found guilty on 5 of 6 charges against her, decides, for instance, to talk about anything involving Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre? Could that affect Giuffre's civil suit against Prince Andrew, despite the 2009 settlement that she signed?
I don't think it would affect Giuffre's civil suit. It would, of course, mean that he could be charged possibly with criminal charges, depending upon, of course, what Maxwell has to say. You know, there are statute of limitations issues here in this case, and there are also issues with respect to some of the sexual conduct that's alleged, that the prince is alleged to have engaged in, was in London, and the laws are different in England than they are in the United States with respect to statutes of limitations and so forth.
Sure. And now,
and we'll go ahead and pause it there. Now, I do want to go ahead and say this about Prince Andrew. From what I understand, this wasn't the first. From what I understand, word on the street is that the Virginia case with Prince Andrew wasn't like this was the first time that Prince Andrew had been accused of maybe being with someone who is underage. From what I understand and from what I read, Prince Andrew was kind of known for going after or targeting girls that were underage. This just happens to be the one that came forward from what I read. Now, I wanted to give you a flashback about that so you have an understanding of who Virginia Giuffre is, because now something wild and crazy happened. And the moment I heard this story, people said to me, "Oh my God, it's Hillary again." And I think you'll see why. So check this out. Just the other day, Epstein and Prince Andrew accuser says she has days to live after a bus crash. So I think a lot of people saw this and were like, what is happening here? What happened here? So she wrote on social media, she has gone into kidney renal failure. I'll show you the actual post so you can see it for yourself. They've given me 4 days to live. Now let's get into the accident, right? So Virginia, who is a victim of Jeffrey Epstein, who once alleged she was sexually trafficked to Britain's Prince Andrew, says she has just days to live after being involved in a vehicle accident. Let's go ahead and take a look at that statement from her here. This is her Instagram. And here's a picture here. Obviously, that looks like a hospital bed to me. You can see here's the rail, the guard rail on the hospital bed that you see if you've ever been in a hospital or been next to a hospital bed. This is what she said. So check this out. This year has been the worst to start a new year, but I won't bore anyone with the details. But I think it's important to note that when a school bus driver comes at you driving 110 kilometers as we were slowing for a turn, that no matter what your car is made of, it might as well be a tin can. I've gone into kidney renal failure. They've given me 4 days to live, transferring me to a specialist hospital in urology. I'm ready to go, just not until I see my babies one last time. But you know what they say about wishes? In one hand, shit in one hand and wish in the other. And I guarantee it's still going to be shit at the end of the day. Thank you all for being the wonderful people of the world and for being a great part of my life. God bless you all, Virginia. Yeah, man. Weird, right? Kind of spooky posts there. But what she posted there doesn't line up with what the accident report says. When we look at what the accident report says, and this is the part that I think threw people into a tizzy here. It goes on to say Her father, Sky Roberts, commented on the post and said, Virginia, my daughter, I love you and am praying for you to get the correct treatment to live a long and healthy life. If there is anything in this world I can do to help you, please let me know. My spirit is with you and holding your hand. Now, in a statement, Giuffre's representative said that she had been in a serious car accident and is receiving medical care in the hospital. She greatly appreciates the support and well wishes people are sending. Now, if you were like me, when you first heard about this accident, first thing I said is, uh-oh, somebody is trying to take out Virginia. That's the first thing I thought. Somebody is trying to take Virginia out. But listen to the report from the accident. Listen to this. Pull up here a little bit. A social media post from 4 weeks ago suggests that Giuffre was in Perth in early March. Western Australia police said on Tuesday there was a report of a minor crash between a school bus and a car in Nergaby, north of Perth, on March 24th at about 3 p.m. So how do you end up in the hospital from a minor crash? Minor. Listen to this part. There's more. It goes on to say the collision was reported by the bus driver the following day. The car sustained approximately $2,000 worth of damage. There were no reported injuries as a result of the crash. There were no reported injuries as a result of the crash. So what's up, man? What's happening here? If there were no injuries, why does Virginia say that she was injured in this accident and that she's in the hospital fighting for her life? Is this an episode of Black Mirror? Let's go on. WA police confirmed a 41-year-old woman was in the car. The Guardian understands that Giuffre presented to a Perth Hospital Emergency Department. That was on Tuesday, April 1st. Giuffre had been living in a home in Ocean Reef. This is a north suburb of Perth with her husband, Robert Giuffre, who purchased the property in late 2020. So does that sound a little bit odd to you guys? A minor accident, but she ended up in the hospital? Who's to blame? And now there's more information, and this is where it gets even more weird. Now Giuffre is claiming this part. Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre offers new details after claiming she had just days to live after the bus crash. So let's get into this. This is the update. Virginia offered more details about the horror bus crash that she claims left her with just 4 days to live. A statement from Giuffre's spokesperson said to dispute the sex trafficking victim's assertion on Instagram Sunday that she was near death. Her spokesperson said that the mother of 3 was in serious condition at an Australian hospital. The new details came after police in Western Australia, where the US-born Giuffre lives, said there were no reported injuries in the March 24th crash between Giuffre's car and a school bus outside Perth. So, excuse me. No reported injuries. Now her spokesperson is saying disregard the post that she made on Instagram. So if I were to make an educated guess here, it seems like to me she's trying to disappear. It seems like to me she's trying to go away. And maybe she thought I can use the accident and say, yes, because I was in an accident, and I can say, uh-oh, I'm seriously injured from this accident. I don't know if I'm going to make it. But it sounds like to me that Virginia is trying to disappear. It goes on to say here, let's go on. The new details came after, we did the reported injuries, and then there's the picture there. However, a spokesperson for Giuffre has insisted that she was forced to go to the hospital after her condition worsened several days after the crash. But they said there were no reported injuries. Now, from my experience, you're always kind of told, like, if you get into a car accident, you should still go get checked out. But there's a difference between going and getting checked out and saying, I have 4 days to live. Like, there's a big difference there. And I've been in car accidents as well, right? So it didn't make sense. But listen to this. Virginia was banged up, bruised, and returned home. Following the collision, the spokesperson told Giuffre told the Post, the police did not have the resources to come to the scene of the accident at the time. They asked if anyone was injured and suggested that if they were, they should make their way to the hospital. So you guys find this to be a little bit strange? Now let's go back to the picture. Does she look okay to you? She don't look okay to me. So if there were no injuries after the crash, what put her in this state? Where she said kidney failure. What put her in this state? These people, the victims, we don't know that they will ever really be safe. We really don't. They came forward, and that in itself is a risk. The school bus driver had a bus full of distraught children and left the scene to get them back, saying he would file a police report, which he did later. Concerning her Instagram post, Virginia thought that she had posted on her private Facebook page. The statement went on. I want to explain this to people who don't use either. Facebook and Instagram is connected. And sometimes if you're posting on Facebook, you can accidentally this will also post on Instagram. Or if you're posting on Instagram, it can accidentally also post on Facebook if you're not paying close attention. So I kind of hate that merger between the two, by the way. But it wasn't something she wanted everyone to see. Apparently, she thought she was posting this on her private Facebook page. So only the people who have access to that would see that, right? Now, listen to this. Today, she remains in serious condition while receiving medical care. Giuffre, whose bombshell allegations that she had sex with Prince Andrew when she was underage, yada, yada, claimed she had just a few days to live after suffering kidney failure. Alongside of a picture of her apparently laying in a hospital bed, which you guys saw that. There's a picture of her there. So compare that to the picture of her in the hospital bed. So I think we all saw that. And then it goes into the statement that she left. They go on to say she's in really bad shape. She's very depressed. There's everything else she's been going through with a divorce and not being able to see her kids. So there's a little bit more to this story. And she says she misses her kids. So that tells you that she obviously apparently was not with her children at that point in time. This story is really strange. And you guys feel free to let me know what you think in the chat. I find this story to be very odd. And since there were no major injuries in the accident, what happened to Virginia Giuffre? Because her spokesperson is still confirming she is in the hospital. So what happened? Did someone come after her? Was she trying to end it all? You know, when people come forward against powerful people, That it's a huge risk. This is why a lot of times people don't do it. It's a big risk. It's not that you just have to deal with the trial. You just have to deal with the media. You can be a target, and your family can also be a target for the rest of your life. This is why a lot of times people don't speak up. And powerful people know this. Powerful people know that they can get away with shit. Strange story. Strange times. Who's to blame? Is it Virginia? Did Virginia try to do this to herself? Or is someone else after her? Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.